Mackelman. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but that does allow me to come to you via cloud computing through a cloud computing presentation. So it's reinforcing what I'm going to speak to you about today, which is the Portable Blackboard, cloud computing and education, its benefits, drawbacks, and legal and policy considerations. First of all, what is cloud computing? There are 22 possible separate definitions of cloud computing, according to Sultan, but I'm going to focus on one for you. Cloud computing is a term used to describe the global technological infrastructure in which the user of a computer assesses and uses software and data located outside of the user's personal computer or other digital device. The user connects to these external devices by way of an internet connection, but typically has no knowledge of the nature or even location of the server on which the data and software are located. This anonymous, external, and often unidentifiable interaction is known as cloud computing, or simply the cloud. And I hope it should be fairly obvious that it has many benefits for both students and researchers, allowing them to access materials via different devices in different locations. But that also brings up a number of different policy considerations for the university, as well as some legal implications, and we'll talk briefly about all of those things. So, first of all, what are the common types of cloud computing? There are a number of different types. Community cloud computing is a form of cloud which shares infrastructure among a number of organizations that fall within the same community. So you could have different institutions then sharing information through this kind of community cloud computing. So different universities across the country, across the world. Public cloud computing is a form of cloud computing where the technology is based on the software as a service model of providing software applications, storage, and resources to users over the internet for a fee or monthly subscription. And this gives resources to different institutions that they might not be able to afford otherwise because it's a little bit less expensive. Private cloud computing is a form of cloud that is meant for a single organizational infrastructure and can be hosted and managed both internally or externally. So a private cloud might encompass all of, say, Western, all of their students and faculty, whereas that public cloud storage is possibly subject to security and privacy issues. Those can be managed more completely in a public cloud computing system or in a private cloud computing system. So hybrid cloud computing is probably the best option for different educational institutions, which allows them to pick and choose the best of all possible worlds. So core features of cloud computing that make it very attractive, particularly from a business aspect towards administrative branches of educational institutions. So the maintenance system upgrades only need to be completed on the host and not every individual computer in your company. There's flexibility because resources are accessible over the internet. Users are not confined to a specific workstation or location. There's scalability. Cloud computing allows companies to effectively scale their resources to meet their needs and adjust them as necessary. So you're only paying for the software and hardware that you're actually using. So that helps to lower the cost. And resource sharing allows organizations to share resources among many users in a single branch, or again, across multiple locations. So if you have satellite campuses, that's a very attractive option. So some of the educational applications include those in the classroom, such as Dropbox. Email systems are cloud-based, note-taking systems, and Google Docs. So a student can possibly take notes on their mobile phone, their iPad, but they can also access those same notes through a computer in a workstation or at home, wherever they happen to be. So it allows them to use less costly devices in more options. They can also share those documents with other students and with faculty members. For research, again, you can make use of Dropboxes and Google Docs for sharing among different research partners. You have up-to-date software and hardware available. You would have an increased amount of computational power available for research as well. Administration can use cloud-based resources for records, which makes them more secure in many instances, and for social media promotion as well. Now, some of the common problems that we can associate with cloud computing include privacy, security, understanding the technology, legal issues in a global environment, because remember, we could be dealing with institutions in various parts of a single country or in different countries. We also have reliability issues, copyright, and technology. There may be an issue that comes up in security or reliability if the servers are located in a different country and say that company goes bankrupt, goes out of business, or sells their databases, then you're not sure 100% what is happening with your resources. So those can result in reliability problems or security issues. So those are things that need to be covered carefully in policy considerations within an institution that decides to actually adopt cloud computing infrastructures. As far as privacy goes, this is a fairly big issue when it comes to cloud storage. So things like cookies and data mining are going to be more of a significant issue in things like social media. But if you're dealing with an institution, say in the US, you're going to have to be looking at the lack of federal privacy legislation in the US, the Patriot Act, which allows more delving into personal documents, First Amendment and free speech issues also result in a lower privacy threshold than we enjoy in Canada. The EU Data Protection Directive is also another system that if you're sharing information with somebody in the European Union, you need to take into consideration those other legal ramifications. The Information and Privacy Commissioner's Report, F1202, on the University of Victoria actually dealt with an instance where there was a break-in to the University of Victoria's administrative offices and private information on students was stolen. Now this information was actually stolen off of portable devices such as laptops and USBs. So it's possible that cloud storage would have actually been a more secure way to contain that information. However, you always have to bear in mind that if it's in the cloud, it is possible that it can be hacked into. So that's another thing that needs to be considered. FIPA is the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. In any use of cloud communities, cloud systems, that's something that an institution would have to carefully consider in adopting those policies. So again, just to reiterate, how the internet actually complicates matters is a jurisdictional one. So if you're dealing with a student that's in Canada, an institution that's in Canada, and a server that's in Canada, Canadian law is going to apply. But if you have a student in the US, an institution in Canada, and your server is in China, you have 3 different legal systems that you have to decide which one is going to prevail. So that's a legal issue that needs to be considered. The last issue that I want to talk about is technological challenges, the availability, quality, and expense of actually using a cloud system. Now, a cloud system is likely to be less expensive, but you do have to have internet available in order to make use of it. And in Canada, we still struggle to have reliable internet connections. As you can see here, a study in 2011 indicated that 79% of Canadian households have access to the internet. So that's something that has to be considered as to whether or not a cloud system is going to work at your institution. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to talk about the implications today, but hopefully this gives you a sense of how cloud computing can be helpful in an educational environment and some of the issues that need to be considered before it can be adopted. Thank you very much.